Hello, everyone. How are you doing? If you can take out your homework from last night, and we're going to pull up this problem, and I'm going to go through, double check the rational zero test, and then double check your Descartes rule of signs. So the rational zero test, we would take the P over the Q, all the factors of the last number, which is 3. So it'll be 1, 3, and then the factors of your first leading coefficient, which is 2. Right? Then you want to expand all them out, and we should get plus or minus 1, 1/2, 3, and 3/2. Okay, so check that out. That's your rational zero test. Now I'm going to do Descartes' rule of signs. This one gets a little bit trickier. We have to do it for your positive real zeros. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the signs of the polynomial, which are positive, positive, negative, positive. And we're going to check and see how many times the signs change. So they change 2 times. So you want to write 2 or 0 positive real zeros. We take this number here 2. We subtract 2 to account for our imaginaries. Okay? All right, next up, negative real zeros. This one involves a little bit of work. Okay, if you look at your work, I substituted a negative x in, and then I'm going to play around with the signs, right? So this should be a negative squared. That's going to be a positive, positive, positive. So here we get a definitive 1 sign change. So that's 1 negative real zero. Okay, so what we're going to do now, right? So double check all your work. You can pause the video if you need to. We're now going to do C, D, and E. So we're going to start with synthetic division. And this can be frustrating, okay? But what you're going to do is you're going to pick one of the numbers from your rational zero test. So you come up here, you're going to pick one of those numbers. So I stay away from the fractions. I would pick like 1 or 3. So let's say I start with 3. Okay, I want to show you what happens, right? So you're going to do a synthetic division with 3. As you start to do your synthetic division, you see that the numbers are getting really high, and there's no way I'm going to get a 0 at the end. So now you're like, shoot, what do I try? So I'm going to try the whole number 1. And you start to see, oh, I'm going to get that 0. So that proves that x equals 1 is actually one of our zeros. So now, and then since we started with an x to the 3rd, we have an x squared here. So we can actually factor. So we're now going to do step D, which is write the complete factorization and your zeros. So we're going to go 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. And then we're going to bring our original this is going to change to x minus 1 as a factor. Okay, now we have to factor this. So I'm going to show you guys that method if you need help on it. You do 2 times 3. Okay, so the green is the trinomial that you're going to focus on, but you have to put a 2x and a 2x here. Okay, but you focus on who multiplies to 6 but subtracts to 5. So we're going to do a positive 6 minus 1, right? 6 minus 1 is 5. And then you have to simplify. Right, so we're going to get f of x. The first bubble will be x plus 3, 2x minus 1, and then bring your original x minus 1. And this is your complete factorization. Okay? Now we write our zeros. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to now use the concept of k-factors, and we want to be able to draw and sketch this graph. So the k-factors are if there's any repeating roots, but we don't have any double roots here. So you're going to look at our leading coefficient test, right? So this guy, n is 3, so that's going to be odd, and 2 is positive. So we know our hands should look like this. So we're going to draw a quick little sketch. Now you should put dots like where the zeros are. You do need this labeled. You don't want random dots at random numbers. And since we didn't have any double roots, we know our graph goes through every 0. And then we're going to turn. You draw a nice polynomial. And there you go. You did your first real putting everything together. Great job, guys. Okay, awesome job. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the problem that we did in class. We're going to go back to this one, right? We have our rational zero test. We have our Descartes rule of signs. And now we're going to do our synthetic division. Okay, so I cleaned it all up, got it all on one page. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start with our synthetic division. You're going to pick one of the numbers from here. All right, and there's a lot of numbers in this one, so I'm going to help guide you a little bit, just because it can get very frustrating. So let's pick one of the numbers. It doesn't matter, but let's say you guys said 2, right? So we try the synthetic division. Okay, so we're going to quickly do this synthetic division. And you start to see right here that you're going to kind of get a little too big, right? Let's make sure I did this right. Right. 1, 2, negative 27. It's going to give you a negative number. It's going to be kind of high, so 2 is not going to work out, right? So now you pick another number. I'm going to kind of guide you guys here. I'm going to pick a negative 5. Okay, to kind of help you out. We're going to do our synthetic. And it's all trial and error. Right? Bring the 1 down, negative 5. You start to see, ooh, I'm going to get that 30, which gives me the 0 right at the end. So you know negative 5 is one of our zeros. Now, what you want to do is you want to use these new numbers and now pick another number. I'm going to help guide you a little, and I'm going to let you use 6. I know 6 this will work out. That should be a positive. and check. Okay, so this is all part C, right? That's our synthetic division. Now we want to write our factors. So we want to set this up. Want to remember this one started as an x to the fourth, x to the third, and that means that's x squared. And this should look familiar to you, right? It should look like a little bit of dots, but on the imaginary end. Okay, now we have to take our -5, make it as a positive, and then the 6 as the minus. Okay, so now if you remember from the other day, this right here is your imaginary dots. Means we have 2 zeros that are imaginary. Okay, so we're going to factor that. You just do the square root of 1, right? And then you put an I with it. So it will be 1I, and then x minus 1I. And then I bring the other 2 down. Okay, and this is the complete factorization. Underneath it, you want to write your zeros. So we have plus or minus I, -5, and 6. And if you notice, we have one positive real zero, which matches your Descartes rule of signs, and we have one negative real zero, and the other 2 are imaginary. Okay, so now we're going to draw the graph of this one using your leading coefficient, right? 1x to the 4, we've got positive and even, so we know both our hands are going up. Okay, so we have -5, 0, 6. You're going to put a dot, right, to symbolize those are your zeros, and those are the only zeros you have. And you're done. Great job. If you need to, pause the video, look at the work. What you're going to do now is you're going to do a couple on your own. What you've got to do now, okay, is you're going to take these 2 examples over here, okay, and you're going to do all these parts, okay, to numbers 1 and 2. Take your time. Whatever you don't finish, just finish it up for homework. Have an awesome day.